You're painting something of a gulf, I think, there, or a split, I would imagine, between many mainstream people who might be, in their own way, quite faithful members of their local church, family people, and what have you, or they may not be, but they identify as evangelicals, but they're doing it tough. They're looking for someone to offer hope, versus the best traditions of American evangelical intellectual leadership. I mean, there's a lot of very, very sophisticated thinking. A very esteemed former High Commissioner or Ambassador from Australia to America, Kim Beazley, who was once a Deputy Prime Minister, many people thought would become a Prime Minister of Australia. He made this point: don't overlook the intellectual credibility and depth of much evangelical leadership in America. He made that comment to me when he'd returned. There is a division there, isn't there? I mean, it must be quite difficult for many evangelical leaders who are worried about what you, I think, rightly identified as the mistake of prosperity gospel thinking, because really the model of Christ is one of service. It's one of humility. It's one of often learning to be shaped and blessed through tough times, not good times, and that materialism in itself is a terrible trap. So you're getting a gap opening up here, I would have thought, that's quite revealing and quite troubling.
Mm. In some ways, you're describing a sociological phenomenon that is not unique to evangelicals. That there is in any subculture, in any ideological theological community, there's always tension
Yeah.
between the kind of intelligentsia and lay people. So that's a broader pattern. However, I think you are absolutely onto something, and that there's a deep history that is particular to American evangelical Protestantism that exacerbates what I'll call the broader American pattern of suspicion of elites and distrust of elites. You can go back and see, I mean, perhaps date the roots of this to the last third of the 19th century, as American evangelicals had to begin to interact with the developments in biblical criticism, and the way in which academic historians and archaeologists and certainly biologists in the realm of evolutionary science were beginning to challenge traditional interpretations of scripture. So there's this tradition of distrusting elites and assuming that academic elites are operating on a set of presuppositions that are invalid, that is not, it's not wholly without some basis in truth, and that it is true that the kind of modern research university that arose in Germany in the late 19th century and then has become the model for what modern universities are, across both in Australia and in the United States and elsewhere. It absolutely is premised on a different notion of authority than that of traditional Christianity. However, I think there's a way in which that line of thinking can become quite dangerous, because it can give you a set of excuses to use to dismiss evidence that runs contrary to your preconceived notions, which is, of course, something that we know as humans, we're all prone to this.